The best way I can describe this movie is a wildly imaginative mind vomit of anti capitalist vignettes strung together with too little connective tissue, doused in Technicolor acid, and lit on fire. I'm simultaneously impressed that he got something this outlandish and creative made, which is true of all his movies. And I also would have joined the people who walked out if I didn't have to review it. But you should still support it. Welcome back. We talk about being black on film in this series. Spoiler free for now, but the spoilers come later. Watch this joint in theaters if you intend to watch this past the spoiler warning, which will be so blatant that you can't ignore it. First things first, Boots Riley is a visionary director. He's been crazy active on social media, gassing his movie up and replying to fans, as he should. So there's a chance that he watches this review. If you're watching Boots, I'm afraid of both your hat and your sideburns. I don't want smoke. He's a former rapper like myself and pivoted into big budget indie cinema with culture shifting joints like Sorry to Bother You, which I loved, and the miniseries I'm a Virgo, which I have yet to see. Sorry to Bother You was weird in a great way that pushed the plot forward consistently, despite some humor that didn't connect for me, especially in the third act. It does have a clear vision and curated world, but it pains me to say this, and I'm going to hold your hand while I do so. I Love Boosters is not Sorry to Bother You. What they do have in common is the vivid, damn near neon world at times, straight out of Riley's imagination, and a distinct feeling like we're not in the 21st century anymore, but also clearly not in the past either. The surreal elements, like a giant ball of existential dread and liabilities that follows Kiki's character around. A building that leans to the point where everyone in the scene has to walk uphill or downhill inside it, or one of the most grotesque sex scenes I've seen in my 36 years of life that only exists to deliver a weird punchline, would hit harder if I wasn't so frustrated by the disjointed screenplay. I enjoy seeing black women on screen and don't need much more than that in a trailer to buy a ticket, to be honest with y'all. Now, I've already told y'all to support it in theaters, so don't kill me when I say I thought this was a messy gumbo pot of a movie. Yes, I understood the subversive anti capitalist messaging and the critiques of AI, fast fashion theft bleeding into high fashion, and the low hanging fruit of the cultural slang jokes. It's a blackety black movie, which I love, but I couldn't shake how rough this script and screenplay were. I won't undersell the amount of work it takes to make a feature length film. Props, but it felt like Riley was only invested enough in each scene to get the main premise across before jumping to the next one in a way that felt rushed and illogical. I was sitting in my chair annoyed to the point where I damn near wanted a refund. The themes and character motivations were spelled out to us in a way that did a lot more than break the show don't tell rule. It shot it in the face. Riley isn't the kind of director that follows rules. I realize that. I break rules sometimes too. Some of them exist to help you tell a coherent story, though. As it stands, the execution of this movie kind of ruined the dope ass story it could have told more effectively. While the soundtrack and score includes a 4-track EP sung by Kiki Palmer, which I don't see a lot of people talking about, the score was not great, to be honest with you, at least not as an experience. There's highlights in the soundtrack like Fashion Killer by ASAP Rocky, which I love, and Ape Shit by Bay and J, but the original score by Tune Yards was not it. The most frequent refrain throughout this joint is this circus adjacent theme that has these off key horns in it and actively distracts you from the scene you're watching. I'm sure Riley intended for it to play up how surreal and satirical the scene is, but it just felt unnecessary and grating. That shit was kind of whack. To me.
Shut the hell up! Shut up! Shut up!
Spoilers. Kiki Palmer is an acting veteran that's been at this for decades at this point. That being said, I did not like this performance as Corvette at all. Some of the blame lands on Riley or his co-writers for these on-the-nose, preachy-ass lines like, I'm so lonely and no one understands me from like the beginning scene. Paraphrasing, but her delivery of those lines was flat and unconvincing. I can't think of a role she's had in anything that really sold me on her being a great actor. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I loved Nope, but I feel like her draw is being animated in her performance, not nuanced. I'm not saying that great performances have never happened. Feel free to educate me if you think I'm wrong. I'm not exactly in her target market. Almost everything I've watched featuring her was kind of against my will. I can tell her acting sensibilities are a little below par because she produced that awful Southern Fried Rice show that had me laughing at the show instead of with it. Naomi Aki's Sade, and Taylor Page's Mariah round out the black women at the center of the cast, and I like them more than Kiki's character. But they suffer from the same writing problems that made them feel like caricatures as opposed to real people. Who are these boosters that use the tactics that would have worked in the 1980s before advanced security cameras? Who talks out loud about their techniques and plan while executing the plan? Especially if you're stealing shit. Quick run through of the plot. Those three black women are boosters, which refers to thieves who steal clothes and resell them on the street at discounted rates. The film opens up with Kiki's character Corvette pretending to be interested in a one-night stand with a dude she picks up at like a dance club, then flipping it on him and selling them some shoes. This scene actually frustrates me because it's one of the last times this movie makes sense. Almost everything after is an energetic but unfocused mess. The next scene shows us how she's living in a makeshift crash pad van with Taylor Page's character. This is where she gives us this stiff monologue about how lonely she is, in a way that feels like reading off a teleprompter, like I am now. Kiki isn't a bad actor, again, but I've never seen anybody but Kiki when she's playing a character. Everybody loves her, I get that. And she seems like a good time. We're talking the skill of disappearing inside a character, though. I haven't seen it, and definitely didn't see it here. We segue to the central plot point of the film, Demi Moore's character, Christy Smith. Christy owns a chain of monochromatic stores called Metro Design that sells clothes in one color at a time. The booster gang shoplift from these stores, which makes Christy call them out on the news for being, quote,
low-class urban bitches,
end quote. Corvette sneaks into Christie's slanted company skyscraper to meet her and overhears her mentioning $100,000 suits. This introduces the momentum for the plot that takes us through the third act. After the booster gang applies for jobs at Metro Design stores to find these suits and steal more shit, the critiques of capitalism and fast fashion accelerate. My dog Will Poulter is a store manager. I've liked every role he's played, but he's not the focus, so I'll move on. The store blasts music hella loud to the point where I couldn't hear the dialogue, and I actually thought that was funny as someone who used to work retail. Like, that was a good joke. While they do some recon at that job, we get vignettes of them stealing from various stores using the distraction method. Something that hasn't really worked on any significant scale in a long time since security systems exist. Breaking a window or faking a seizure while the homie in the back stuffs clothes in their sweatpants. You get it. The play on the kind of sweatpant waddle outside the store, that was funny. I thought that was legitimately funny. Lakeith Stanfield has to get mentioned somewhere, and I might as well tackle that now. He's sold throughout this movie as this impossibly sexy soul sucker. Literally. And look, I'm not here to tell women what is and isn't attractive. I can't yuck your yum, but my boy is looking real dry and malnourished to me. As if he chain smokes cigarettes. Like what you like though. His effect on Corvette is hypnotizing, representing a toxic, nonchalant love bomber who's gonna induct you into a cult before making you a single mother. I'm glad she rejected him at the end, if only so the camera could back the hell up out his face. Those extreme close-ups were not the move, Boots. I referenced a shocking scene earlier, and this was actually the point where many people walked out of my showing. He said he was a demon towards the end, but we actually see it before that, when one of Corvette's homegirls is telling a story about him sucking a woman's soul out. The woman's played by Lakeith's real-life wife, and it's graphic as hell, so I guess that was a necessity. He transforms into this demented, huge alien creature on the bottom half of his body while maintaining a human form on top while he's giving her top. I hated every second his character was on screen, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all once again, I've never seen anything but Lakeith whenever he plays a character. The range y'all claim he has is not in the room with us. I also realized his character was meant to be a distraction that Corvette was trying to resist throughout the movie. But I don't think any of that worked. Before they can get a chance to rob this new store, Poppy Liu's character, Jean Yu, vacuums up the entire store with a magic bag device. She shoots those clothes into a factory they were developed in, which is in China. She and her partner back in China used this as a method of protesting Chrissy Smith's treatment of her workforce. This was easily the best part of the movie for me. I thought it was an incredible way to use surrealism to paint a picture of anti-capitalist activism for an audience that might not engage with those ideas very often. She gets folded into the crew while they're working the gig at Christie's stores. Aiza Gonzalez plays a chill co-worker named Violetta, who's actually about that union life, serving as a counterbalance to the hyper-exaggerated personalities of Taylor and Naomi's characters. She tracks the gang down, trying to get them to join the labor fight. To wrap this up, the film ends at a huge fashion show thrown by Christie. The gang busts in that joint looking for the suits and find all the people from Christie's team who were on newscasts, and Don Cheadle's character from the pyramid scheme pitch earlier on in the movie. He's wearing this crazy fat suit like a Clump family member. This is where we find out those $100,000 suits were skin suits. They get fully undressed and then remove their skin. From this point forward, the stop motion skinned people chase the boosters around the city, trying to shoot them and get their portal device. It was a little confusing by this point, I'm not gonna lie. I had checked out a long time before this, but it made so little sense by this scene that I was just laughing my way through it. They get the skin suits off of them after killing them. There's a protest organized by Aiza Gonzalez's character. Then we wrap it up after seeing what happens to the characters in their happy endings, which I'll get into in the next section. Dialectical materialism is said out loud more than once in this third act. I didn't know what that word meant, so I looked it up. This refers to the official philosophy of the Soviet Union as developed in the 19th century by Russian Marxist Georgy Plekhanov, based on writings by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Yeah, Riley was not subtle in this messaging at all. It basically claims that everything is a result of matter and motion, and the world's evolution is the byproduct of a dialectical process driven by internal contradictions. What does that mean in layman's terms? It means the world is material and can be understood by breaking it down into these internal contradictions. I don't actually think I can explain it better than that. It's pretty complex. The movie gives us examples to help break it down. This concept is represented in the movie by the magic clothes vacuum machine I mentioned earlier, which has 3 modes on it. One mode deconstructs things, which is exemplified by Mariah turning into her parents having sex on the ground when they pointed at her. A piece of clothing gets turned into the yarn and materials that made it, etc. Another mode is situational accelerator, which heightens the contradictions in whatever it's pointed at. It makes a woman go from walking on normal high heels to the same woman walking on like 5-foot heels. I thought this whole scene was dope, even though I was already annoyed with the flow of the movie by then. The third mode is the vacuuming one. Easily the dopest part of this structure was the reveal that when Jean Yu deconstructed the clothes from Metro, a cut on her hand disappeared, since she got that cut working on those clothes in the factory. Basically, the labor she put in got reversed, and that energy returned to her body. 10 out of 10, no notes. That's the kind of metaphor we need to see used more in films like this. I love that. This comes back at the end when Jean Yu gets her mom back from terminal cancer after deconstructing all the clothes in the factory. That's fire. Yes, the anti-capitalist themes shine through. I can't praise Riley enough for even trying to get a movie like this made and then actually completing it.
Capitalism comes from capital. It's right there in the name. And the working class creates the capital. And one way we have to have a say in what's going on immediately is through creating a mass militant radical labor movement, one that can use the withholding of labor as a tactic and strategy to hold capital at bay.
In interviews, he said this was his best work, and I personally don't see that. I see where the effort went, But this was a confusing journey, fam. If your goal was to throw people off and be as weird as possible, you absolutely succeeded. But I think this movie could have been so incredible if you let someone else write it or at least polish it. Same messages, some of the same jokes, but stronger connective tissue between scenes and plot points. It's difficult to appreciate the anti AI and anti fast fashion messages when I'm struggling to keep paying attention. I'm a person who always locks in when I'm watching movies. But there were points where I drifted for a few seconds just because it was washing over me without landing any real punches. An example of confusion was when they said they were going to see Lakeith's character and then they just cut past actually going to see him, and he was just letting them in the back door of the venue where the last fashion show was happening. It was just like, did y'all film the next scene? Love a happy ending. I had no problem with them ending up opening a community center for affordable clothes. It's full circle. In conclusion, go see it just to support a black director who takes chances. You might disagree with me completely, and I welcome your opinions on it. It's rare that I get lost by a movie like this. Like, I understood it, but I was also lost at some of the transitions. But I'll absolutely go out to support his next film. I don't like boosters, but you should watch it.